But Satchidananda also means the inner light. The inner light, the inner peace, the inner bliss. I found out recently that the Tibetan Buddhists who study the evolution of the soul after death also looked at the evolution of the mind when it approaches death. And what they point out is just as the physical body shuts down its systems, if you've been at the bedside of somebody as they're leaving their body, it's step by step. The colon stops working, no more urination, no more eating, digestion, little by little, no more consciousness. And that may go on for days. And then finally the breath stops. Sometimes they're conscious right to the end, but the systems shut down. And we know that often in the last days of consciousness, the dying person becomes blissful. Sometimes it's the last 20 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't occur. But very often, the dying person lets go and becomes youthful, wrinkles disappear, peaceful, completely surrendered. But what the Tibetans discovered is just as physical systems shut down, mental systems shut down. It's a natural thing. At some point, as you're entering your last chapter, you stop being ambitious. I mean, you know it's your last chapter. You've done what you can do. Stop being ambitious. You stop trying to accumulate. So greed, desire, and attachment. When you're really in your last days, you even have to let go of your physical body. That's a huge letting go. You lose your house, you lose your job, you lose your family, you lose your bank account, everything goes. So the mind shuts down. Desire, ambition, greed, and attachment. But you know what happens? The mind and consciousness rest in the original nature. And the original nature of man's mind or woman's mind is bliss. Satchidananda. Even the Vatican observes and honors that word, Satchidananda, as describing the essential bliss, which is the human condition. However, we are very caught up in greed, ambition, desire, and attachment. It's natural. It's natural. But my topic tonight, what are we here for, is to take a look at the ways we've shaped our lives and identified our goals, and look at and see if we can't recalibrate that, reshape our efforting, our lifelong intention, so that we can bring that bliss into daily experience without having to wait till we're on our deathbed. That's our goal as yogis. I want more than 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I know it's greed. I don't want just 10 minutes of bliss. I want the whole package. I'd like several years, please. And I know because we saw Swamiji. His bliss was extraordinary. It was infectious. He stepped into his room, and even if your back was turned, you knew it. Because inside there would be openings, light, joy. It was so infectious that he could infuse a whole auditorium, 700 people, blissed out. And we watched his fortune rise and fall. He had very painful experiences in life. His bliss didn't stop. He had an inner wellspring, and he was totally connected to that wellspring. And when joyous things happened, he was joyous. When misfortune happened, he still, we saw him cry, we saw him angry, but his joy flowed. His joy flowed. It was the most extraordinary thing. When I first saw him, when I first heard him lecture, I thought, this is not a human being. He's not a human being. He has the form of a human being. It was so foreign to me to see the movement of that continuous joy. And it, even in the way he shaped his sentences, even the movement of his thought, it was visible. It was like physically visible. This man has permanent joy. He gave us a map, he gave us a pathway, he gave us a toolbox. Takes a long time. You know what I say? It's like every year I realize the goal is further away. So it's almost like I'm going backwards. But it's okay. I love the path all the same. I do these quite regularly. I've been doing them for maybe 30 years, I think. I do them on my birthday and on New Year's, because it's about a 6-month time space between them. And every single time I do them, they're different. But every single time I do them, I get new information. And what we're working with is the fact that the information is inside of us. Extraordinary wisdom is inside of us. We tend to block it. We're very programmed by our culture and families. So we have these very strong notions of what we should do with our lives, and sometimes it doesn't always match up our inner quality, talents, and unique specialness. My great fear actually is that I would get to the end of my life and go through that period of releasing and clarity and new wisdom, and then realize that I lived my entire life according to what I considered to be my parents' values. And I'm sure my interpretation of their values probably wouldn't be accurate anyway. So I've been for a long time very keen that I know myself well enough that my innermost being shapes my life. And these are the exercises that have helped me. So I share them with you now. First one, really, really easy. And that is, I'd like you to look back 4 years, 2010. Let's look back, 2010, the month of April. And then just give a thought to what's changed since that date. And I'd like you to jot down 3 or 4 things. It might be that you built a garage, or learned how to make a perfect enchilada, or I don't know what. But there are probably several accomplishments, notable accomplishments in the last 4 years. So jot them down. Let's do this too if you want. It's easy. Yeah, I'd suggest you use your little paper for this. Yeah. There may only be one thing on your list. It's totally fine. But finish up in the next few seconds, please. And we'll move on to the second list. And that is to think of the month of April 2018. So, 4 years from now, okay? Imagine that you accomplish a similar number of things in the next 4 years. Okay, you just made a list of what was accomplished in the last 4 years. Now, assuming the next 4 years brings as much change, what can you project forward? Let your mind be creative and a bit wild, but just give it a minute or two. These actually work better if they're done a trifle carelessly, because you don't want the linear mind to get too involved here. So just scribble down in your very worst handwriting a few things that come to mind. It's fun, isn't it?
It's fun.
Okay, we'll do 3 more of these short exercises. One is a bit longer, 2 short ones, one longer one. These 2, did you enjoy doing that and thinking of what you might, or possibly, maybe probably accomplish 4 years from now? These 2 are just to put us in touch with the fact we're constantly changing. And the fact that as we set our sights on achieving something, we do move forward. They say the human being and the combustion engine work on the same principles. Let the men answer. What is the essential principle of the combustion engine?
Compression, explosion.
Explosion! The car moves forward through a series of small explosions, continuous explosions. Well, little explosions, usually little crises, little challenges, they propel us forward. They propel us forward. But we are in constant movement. Constant movement. Even what looks like a downward turn almost always turns out to be a positive turn, but we don't have the eyes to see it necessarily. If you look at embroidery, the backside is all knots and tangles. Okay? Turn it over. Front side is just so absolutely gorgeous, symmetrical and beautiful. Well, short vision is knots and tangles. Long vision, yes. There's a plan and it works out. Okay? Anyway, we are moving forward. We are moving forward. So my next exercise for you is a flight of fantasy. Okay? A huge flight of fantasy. Here goes. Bill Gates is your neighbor and he's very fond of you. Alright? So money can flow into your pocket very easily. Dalai Lama is your uncle, so he gives you any amount of wisdom and advice. President Obama, or whatever president you choose, is your cousin. So what have you got there? Money, guidance, and power. And I have one more. Pharmaceutical companies have come out with a supplement that gives you 18 hours of phenomenal energy, like you're 18 years old, with no side effect. Okay, so it's a flight of fantasy, obviously. But what would you do? Suppose you had boundless wealth, guidance, connections, power, and energy. That's a formula. But what would you do? What would you do? And by the way, I took care of ecology and world poverty, so I took care of the big ones. I want you to identify Because I don't want you to just go back to what, oh yes, everybody, we have to take care of the water. No, think of specifically what you have to bring. What you have to bring. Let your pen write anything wild. Don't limit yourself. You know, if you can't identify something now, maybe it will come to mind next month. Don't be concerned about it.
It comes.
Okay. Two more. One of them, you've probably done it before. It's in Reader's Digest, I think every month. So, fresh sheet of paper. If the doctor said, "So sorry, sir, you have 2 weeks left to live." Okay. How would you spend those 2 weeks? Okay. If the doctor says, "So sorry, ma'am," or "So sorry, sir, you have just 2 weeks left," how would you spend them? Okay, a new sheet of paper, what comes to mind? I hope somebody writes they would come here to Nalanie Center and give 24 hours a day. I bet somebody writes that.
Oh, fantastic! That would be wonderful.
Are you? Yeah, I think you finished that one. We've covered a lot of ground already. So I would like to make a brief circuit of this group, okay? And I bet you've each unearthed something that surprised you. Am I right? A little bit of a surprise? No, not necessarily. No, there's a shaking head over there in the background. Shaking your head because you've been here before and seen it. Okay, I'm going to do one more then. I'll do one more, then we'll do one. Here we go. This is another flight of fantasy. To some of us. To others, it will be very, very real. And that is, think of yourself as being out of the body. And according to many of the spiritual teachers, the essence, the soul essence, comes back again and again. To keep practicing being a human being. We haven't got it right yet. So we take a new body and we practice again. Another 80 years. We still haven't got it right, so we keep coming back. But while we're in that soul essence between our incarnations, we have access to much more wisdom than we have now. Okay? And when we take our new bodies, it's with an intention. Now, you know that when you launch a business, you have a mission statement. Isn't that right? So I'd like you to draw on your intuition and write the mission statement as it was formulated in the mind, in your soul, before you incarnated. Okay? Can you do that one?
For the next life, for this life.
This lifetime, before you came into this body to do this lifetime, what mission statement was there? Deeply embedded in your unconscious, from your soul level. Just give it a try. Again, it's creative writing. Be sure your handwriting is sloppy. So I want it to come out freely, without editing. Sometimes people do this with their left hand only. Without good grammar. Okay, finish up in the next few seconds. And take a look at what you've written. Is your life in some ways out of alignment with that intention? Some will say yes, some will say no, naturally. Now I'd like to see a showing of hands. From what you just wrote, your mission statement for this incarnation, is your life in pretty good alignment with that? Hands up. Pretty good alignment with that. Okay, good. Is there room for improvement?
Always.
That's a given. Okay. Yeah, 100%. Lots of room, always. Okay, what is the biggest obstacle you face toward embodying that life? Okay. Can you call out a few things for me? What are some of the obstacles you face in embodying that life?
Bearing insult.
What's that?
Bearing insult. Feeling.
Bearing insult.
Yeah. Injuries.
I thought you were saying burying. And then I thought you said varying in size. Well, anyway, bearing insult is really hard. What else?
Betrayal.
Betrayal. That's probably the worst form of insult. What
Fear.
other things?
Fear.
Fear. It's very deep.
To lose somebody when they're young, you know, to have lost somebody dies when they perform nature, you know, when somebody's young.
Yes.
That's very hard.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. Do you know what to do about it? You just keep at it. There isn't one answer. yoga is the path of transformation. It's the path of transformation. And there's such a huge array of practices. We can all find something that will help us forward. You know, I'd like you to take a look at what this young lady has made. Can you show that to me? Did you notice? She just wove this, and it's made from rubber bands.
It's beautiful.
Did you see that? And she did it over a, was that a clothespin you used? Speak of creativity. Yeah, she uses a clothespin, and I guess that's like an embroidery, a crocheting hook, and rubber bands. And it's, you see she had the exact correct order of colors. That's a beautiful bracelet. Thank you so much.
For you.
Oh.
I hope so. I didn't dare assume so, but I hope so. Thank you. Great. How's it look?
Beautiful.
I love it. I just love it. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move forward. I would like to spend a little more time on identifying where our obstacles are. But I will talk about a few things before we go into that. One is, we are as unique as our faces. Face recognition software, I don't know if there's a limit, but I think that, 7 million people were different. Our fingerprints, our voice, there's also voice prints as distinct as fingerprints, so many things. And some of the great souls, Viktor Frankl used to say, it's not what we ask of life, it's what life asks of us. He says that's the question we need to ask. What does life ask of us? And the thinkers respond with that. To be who we are. To accept who we are in our individual and very unique nature and give expression to that. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, we are not only fated to be unique and individual, but it's our responsibility to be an individual, to explore and express and celebrate that uniqueness. And it's very, very hard to do. Because society prefers that we stick to stereotypes. And that we walk on a certain set of railroad tracks. And I think it's because parents worry about us. They want to make sure we're secure and happy in life, and so they try to shape us into what they feel confident will work. But actually, we are capable of so much. There's so much creativity, so much that's completely unique to all of us. And part of our work as aspirants on the spiritual path is to identify how we're unique, what we have to give, what is our specialness, and then look for ways to give it more and more expression, give it celebration. But it's not easy. Do you know the island of Bermuda? You know, I have American frame of reference, so it's a little island near the Caribbean. It's actually the tip of a mountain that's 18,000 feet high, okay, from the floor of the sea. So that's like the conscious mind and the unconscious. So the unconscious has tremendous power over us. And to work with that so it's a supportive body, not an opposing body, is tricky. Do you see? And any time we're moving into self-transformation, we've got to use our unconscious as our ally, not our opponent. So it's a very delicate way of working with the mind. And one of the systems that I found most useful and I borrowed it from a friend, is to look at the personality, our own personality as being a whole boarding house of people. In other words, I'm a Swami, right? And I have a designated lifestyle. But I have many other attributes. I have very worldly attributes. I'm gluttonous sometimes, greedy sometimes. I have a whole assortment of qualities and what they call sub-personalities. And this has been a very useful way for me to understand myself, because sometimes I come up with behaviors that appall me, and yet to make peace with them and to work with them and to help them heal so the whole being can move forward is very important. I can't just push them out. It's like I'm a family. And a family that rejects one of its members probably isn't a healthy unit, okay? So to identify where something's a little aberrant, embrace it, help it heal, has been an important part of my path. And so that's one of the ways of working with the unconscious or subconscious energies. But as part of that, as we're looking forward and creating aspiration for the future, we have to ask a couple of important questions. And one is, who is creating that goal for ourselves? Okay? So as we set our sights on a new goal, is that coming out of the ego? Sometimes the needs of the ego are antithetical to the needs of the soul. Often they are. Often the voice of the ego is the borrowed voice of the culture or the mother or father. The soul's needs may be rather different. So to find our way into this larger understanding of us as a component of many voices, some expressing a very subconscious part of ourselves and yet very powerful, making peace with it, working with it, discerning which voices are an expression of a very healthy part of ourselves and which are born out of neurotic needs. These are important things for us to look at, choose among, and always it's the soul quality. Again, we need to come back to that fact at the end of our life. We want to be able to look back at the duration, the 90, 100 years, and be proud of what we've accomplished. We don't want to get there to that point of complete mental clarity and think, wasted, okay, better luck next time. We want to be able to look back with real satisfaction. We were given 90 years and we used them to our soul's satisfaction. We've got a soul. We've got a soul. But how to bring it forward? You have a feeling? Yes, please.
I was going to ask if you as we did the second part there,
Yeah.
I thought I used to have lots of mission statement things
Yeah.
before in the past. Oh,
Yeah.
let's go do, business
Right.
like.
Yeah, right.
And then, I don't know, apparently thought it was all ego, really.
Yeah.
It's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yes,
right
that's
now,
right.
it's like doing nothing.
Yes.
Don't have to do anything, just realise truth.
Yes.
There's no, which I was having a lot of problems with that, but now there isn't a mission statement, it's just the idioms.
That is, I just be here now.
But it seems a bit like a waste, but it isn't a waste. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
So that's why the second part was blank.
Oh, you're good.
Well,
Congratulations.
I want to go and help kids in Africa. I want all this sort of stuff. It was all ego.
It is. It's a tremendous amount of egoism. And all these self-help programs, and all the books you pick up, how to succeed, how to grow rich, and so on. A lot of it is drawing on the egoistic part. Some of them are very genuine and brilliant. Some are absolutely genuine and brilliant. But this building and this hall is for spiritual purpose. And that means looking at ourselves very differently. And looking at our ambitions very differently. And making choices that are going to support our soul quality. Probably next time you do that exercise, you may come up with a fully written mission statement. But right now, maybe just purging out the old ones. Yeah, the business model. It's a tricky thing. Okay, I'd like you to do another short one, and then we'll do a longer one, and then we'll discuss transformation. Oh, thank you. So, the short one is to identify where you tend to self-sabotage. Thank you so much.
She's a great assistant.
She's a role model for us.
Yes, she is.
She's a role model. Okay, self-sabotage, or where you can improve the way that you align with your own core values. We're just looking for an identification of the next movement, the next step, not long-range goals, but this week, this month. How to focus your effort, a direction to move in. Just looking for one thing. Just a few more seconds, just a few more seconds. Okay, and now we move on to the longer one. This could be about 8 minutes, I think. And this one I think you may get into a bit more deeply. And it's to think of yourself when you get to that very last chapter. It's the end of your life. And you're still fully conscious and alert. You're in the Nalanie's retirement home on the rocker, looking out at the
Oh, it is
beautiful
there.
ocean.
2018 hospice is built.
Oh, good. Okay, all right. Is it actually there?
It's hospice is there.
And what? In 2019.
2018, you said.
2018. Oh, it's 2018. Okay, all right. Don't plan to leave that soon, but at least it will be built. Thank you, Nalanie.
You're welcome. Thank you for support.
Okay, you're in Nalanie's hospice. You're still fully conscious and alert, your memory's clear, and you're doing your life review, which is a very natural process. It does happen. And, okay, so we're imagining you at 108 years old, okay? Good, long, full life. But you can remember every chapter you went through. And you're looking back to April 8th, is it 8th or 7th? 7th.
Eight.
Oh, today's the 8th, okay. You're looking back to April 8th, 2014. Okay? So you're looking back, we're talking about 60 years from now, you'll be looking back. And you see the situation you're in within the context of 108 years, all right? So it's just one little blip in your life review. You're looking at 108 years. And along the way, you pass through 2014. Okay? Now, I'd like you to write yourself a letter. Okay? It should be at least 5 sentences long. And it should actually be a letter. Dear Nalanie, dear Shanti. And then at the very bottom it says, love, grandma or grandpa, or whatever you want to call yourself. And just give a little bit of guidance and advice. See what comes up. You're just drawing on a part of you that will, the part of you that will be unchanging through your entire lifespan. Okay? You're changing your perspective from the values of today to the lifelong values. A few sentences of guidance will come out. Just let it flow. Sloppy handwriting. Not thinking it through particularly. No good grammar necessarily. Just let something flow out. And let's finish it up. See, you have a pen pal you never realized you had. In a foreign country, country of the future. I've used this so many times and it's helped me so much. And I have a lot of confusion and I can't sort out which direction to go. This taking a very long perspective has helped. Sometimes I write it from Swami Divyanandaji, why not? Or I write it from the soul having, or even from what you would imagine to be the God consciousness, the God self, the spirit. But the mind has tremendous wisdom in it. And these little exercises, in a way, they give us a way of going around the problem-solving linear mind that we use in our daily responsibilities, which is fabulous. We develop ourselves to be so brilliant and so capable of functioning well in the society, but then we bring that same mind to work on our spiritual lives, and sometimes it doesn't translate well. So these writing exercises are coming out of a deeper part of ourselves. Nalanie and I were talking about how information is verbal. Words are the medium of information, but knowledge itself is non-verbal. And the soul essence is in a non-verbal realm. And to access it, sometimes you need the very creative, intuitive part of the mind. And that will just help us to identify the core essence of ourselves and to keep our life in alignment with that. So I'm going to go on now to talk about transformation and some of the essential ingredients to transformation. You can put your papers down. We've done our exercises now. Your assignments are over. Yoga is the science of transformation. So essentially it's the willingness to change. The human personality locks down. They say attachment is the first child of Maya. Maya being this grand illusion we're caught in, the world of the senses. And so whoever we are, including our neurotic behaviors, and we've all got some, we attach to. We sort of lock into it. So the willingness to let go of a little bit of who we have been in order to transform is essential. The willingness to move into the unknown. One of the interesting facts is that the physiological body changes completely every 7 years. The research keeps changing. I'm not sure all the brain cells change over, but there's a tremendous amount of transformation. Yeah, wish they did sometimes. So every 7 years you practically got a new body. But the mind holds on to its same neurotic patterns, 40, 80 years. So there's some templates that we get caught with that aren't necessarily healthy that endure. So bringing them into consciousness and having the willingness to move into the other and the new is the foundation, the willingness. And it's to let in some of the divine energy. Okay? They say every blade of grass has an angel leaning over it saying, grow, grow, grow. And in the same way, the soul essence of us is supported by millions and billions, quadrillions of soul entities or oceans of energy, the spiritual energy, to support it having expression. So any small opening that we can make from our side is met with every encouragement. But it still has to come from us. The soul doesn't grow without our permission. I sat with Gurudev and one of his disciples years ago, and the disciple, from his heart, was saying, Gurudev, give me more light. Give me more light. I see other disciples getting lit up. So, and it's coming from you, I know, give me more light, give me more light. It was very sweet. And Gurudev said, I'm doing as much as I can. He said, I need your cooperation. And that was so interesting. I was the bystander on that conversation, but I always wondered, Gurudev, am I cooperating? Because I know in certain ways I'm not, but I try. I try to open to it. So the willingness, the cooperation, and the acknowledgement that there's a lot of divine energy around us, in us and around us. And then the willingness to do practice on some level. Not everybody can sit and meditate. Swami Satchidananda himself, it was one of the rules at the ashram, you can't demand everybody to attend meditation. He says it's not in the makeup of everybody. But the goodwill should be there. And the willingness to serve, the willingness to support the good and bring forth the good should be there, the intention. And there are so many thousands of practices. The prayer practice, service, service above self, just cleaning up our diets is huge, and working with the mind. Most of all, it's working with the mind. Noticing the kinds of thoughts that we harbor that may not be healthy. I like to think of the person who has been to the doctor and knows about an allergy. Maybe it's to peanuts or wheat. What do? They go home and they go through their cupboards and they take out all the foods that have peanuts and throw it away or give it away, okay? Well, we've got allergies to some of our thought forms and we need to clean our cupboards. We definitely, all of us need to clean our cupboards, and we need to also identify what we're allergic to. Now, I use meditation for that. Meditation gives me a very clear feedback system in a surprising way, and that is noticing what disturbs my meditation, what takes my mind off, and off of my peace or off of my mantra, and sends it in a loop. That's a thought, or that's an issue that I have a little allergy to. So I need to get that issue out of my cabinet. Now the Tibetan author provided that information about the stages for the dying soul. He also wrote this amazing poem that I think very accurately depicts the Western mind. And he explains this. The mind, or the consciousness, has two components, vertical and horizontal. Probably has many, but certainly two. So we have the thinking and problem-solving mind, which is involved in the linear temporal dimension, where things are and when they happen. So it holds on to past and it projects into future. It's so valuable to us, so valuable to us. Because we need that to function well, to be responsible, to take care of our families. But the mind also has this horizontal dimension, which is awareness. And it's picking up, seeing and experiencing all the time. And it's like the sky above the weather patterns. Because if you go a few miles up, there is no weather. There are no clouds or winds. It's just vast, infinitely vast, and absolutely pristine peace. Okay? The mind has that also. But it's in the part of the mind that's a pure consciousness. The sky-like mind. We have it. And this is how the poem goes. he says, relax in natural deep peace, the sky-like mind. Relax in natural deep peace, the exhausted mind, which is being beaten up by neurotic thoughts and karmas, like the pounding fury of the relentless waves of the infinite ocean of samsara. Okay? Does that describe us? This poor mind, it's so exhausted. And the neurotic thoughts and the karmas don't stop coming, pounding it. You have to take that mind into peace. That exists in us, and it's a truth. It's a truth more powerful than all these events circulating around us. We bring the mind into that, and its inner health is restored. And we can find that peace not just through meditation. We can find it in song, in satsang, in beauty. All forms of beauty are healing. In rest, in service, all this. Yes, I have to mention prayer. Prayer brings extraordinary peace. So it's for each of us to find our pathway back into peace. And I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story that took place 100 years ago in India. It's just a story, really. But it's about an old woman, very poor, whose livelihood depended on her stitching, and she only had one needle, and she lost the needle. It's nighttime, she's under a street light, and she's crying. It's her whole life. Her income, her entire income depends on one needle. So she's looking. And what's going on behind me?
More water.
Oh.
See, you're coughing.
It's just like the unconscious mind is. This is my third cup of water, by the way.
I just see you a bit dry, sorry. Carry on.
Oh, yes, sweet. Don't apologize. It's so good of you. I knew I needed it, but I was too embarrassed to ask her for a third glass of water. It's too much. Okay, so here we are. She's crawling around in the dust. She's coughing. And a young man comes along and helps her. And after a while he says, "Madam," he says, "it's not here." He says, "I have perfect eyesight. We've searched every square inch. It's not here under the street line." He says, "You've lost it somewhere else. Please think back." And she says, "Oh, you're right. I lost it in my little hut. But I don't have any light in the hut. So I came to the nearest light." Oh, it's about us. It's about me. It's about you. The hut is the human psyche. The needle, that which we utterly depend on and utterly value, which gives us everything that's beautiful in life, that's hidden inside a hut and there's no light there. Okay? But the light of the world, this world has come into being through our senses: hearing, sight, smell, taste, touch. They all experience from the external. They bring this world into being, this magnificent and fabulous world. And from infancy, we start our search. And we're looking for 100% happiness, fulfillment, joy in the external. It's the only world we know. But the true happiness is in a different place. So all of our spiritual disciplines are pathways back into that dark hut. See? We just don't have an organ of sense perception. It's God's trick. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's a setup. He wanted who knows why.
Keeps us busy.
He keeps us busy. Yeah.
Our whole life.
Yeah, it's fun.
Looking for the inner light.
That's right.
If we
gotta
have found it, then there's no
I know, it'd
reason
be
to
too
use
easy.
it.
The game would be over. The game would be over. Wow. What's the point? And no, he's made the treasure hard to find. But our work is to find a pathway that works for us. Because again, we're unique, we're special. And each of us, in a way, needs a different recipe for how to go inside, go back into that dark hut, the inner realms of the psyche, and find that treasure, that total peace. So that's the story. Why to go inward, how to go inward, but you have to choose. And you have brilliant teachers here to explain completely the paths. But you have to figure out the recipe that works for you. It should be thoroughly enjoyable. That's right. It's very hard for us to move into practice that we don't love. The whole soul should celebrate as you take up the practice. And then you stay on it and stay on it. Stay on it and stay on it. And don't move from it and stay on it. And keep refreshing your mind with the rewards. Why are we doing this? We're doing this so that when we get to the end of our life, when we have that day of reflection, that whole life review, we could say, job well done. I can go now. I can go with a happy heart. We want those last minutes to be happy. We truly do. Okay? Any question? Any comment? Any inspiration you would share? Nothing? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question I've had for a long time that might not have anything to do with this.
No problem, let's hear it.
At what point does a tree die?
At what point does a tree die?
You see a dead tree, you see an alive tree, but
Right.
what happens when life leaves it? What goes on that says, now it's left it, now? I'm sorry if it's a silly question. But
It's
just been in-
no, it's the question that's come forth. It's an amazing question. At what point do you say that life has left? I would imagine, I can only give you the answer that comes to me, but when the tree no longer has the will to live. Life is so powerful. Life is so powerful. Somehow it's the essential quality of nature to gain expression through all its species. And we see healings all the time in absolutely miraculous, impossible situations. That's the will of nature. Nature finds a way. She's always recreating herself. But at some point, she no longer provides will to that tree to keep growing. But what I always think when I see death in nature is that the trees and the animals are much more wise than we. They know they're not the body. And when the time is for them to release and move on to another form, they do it in a more peaceful way than we do. They let go and they move on. It's the decision of the tree. It's not the decision of the owner of the tree. There was a event, it happened many, many years ago in one of our ashrams, that a young man, in his enthusiasm, chopped down, they were clearing part of the property, and he chopped down a tree, but without checking, and he didn't have permission. And within a few days he was very, very sick. And Swamiji went to him and said that tree was not meant to die. And you aren't going to get well until you go and bow before it and ask its forgiveness. Very interesting. And so it was. It was very rare for Swamiji to talk on that etheric level. But there is soul energy in everything. The floorboards themselves have soul energy. And with proper respect for that, we live in alignment with that soul energy, and that supports our soul to move forward to get expression. So don't just chop down any trees. Talk to them first. Find out if they're willing and ready to go. And see.
So it would behoove one to maybe ask forgiveness if you've done something even unknown to you.
Absolutely.
To just, for anything on a soul level, to just say, you know.
Swamiji gave us a prayer that he wanted us to recite once a day. It comes at the end of our evening meditation. Karacharana Pitamba Kayajin Karma Jamba Shravanana Yena Jamba Manasamba Paratam Vihitama Vihitamba Shri Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Mahadeva Shambho. Please forgive me all my mistakes, Lord, made by my hands, feet, body, or karma, whether by omission or commission, whether by intention or accident. All glory be unto thee, Lord, all glory be unto thee. There's so many things that we unconsciously do that don't bring goodness. So many things we unconsciously do that do bring goodness. It works both ways. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
that's absolutely true what you said. I learned a long time ago that in Hawaii, the culture of the natives, before they have to cut a tree or anything,
Right.
they always ask the permission
Yes.
and the forgiveness.
Yes.
And I've learned I can't actually kill anything or shrub, but if I ever had to, I absolutely would ask the permission to take
Right.
its life. And it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but when you understand nature, you understand that everything is alive. Like every insect, everything, you know, and just to swat an insect, you're taking its life. You have no right to do that. I know it sounds crazy,
Not to
but it's
anybody in this
absolutely true
room.
about trees or anything that you kill,
Yeah.
and most people do it unknowingly.
Yes.
So it doesn't, you know, maybe have as bad a value as someone who does it consciously.
Right, right. Do you know that Mary is the author, creator, director, and worker for the entire yard?
Thank you.
She's put in, I think,
Have you seen what she's done
Lovely.
today? It's Mary. She pops in when I don't know, and when I come back, it's all done.
Right,
Thank you, Mary. It's beautiful.
right, and you're going to see, as it grows, you're going to see it in full expression. She put in the most beautiful hibiscus this morning itself. Yes.
Is it okay to kill mosquitoes and ticks and fleas?
That's where we go alive.
I don't know.
Very hard.
Cockroaches.
When my animals have got ticks or fleas in them, I have to get them off them.
Oh, I see, for your
Do you see what
animals.
I mean?
You know, it's a level of compromise that's essential in this world, but when you do it, you've got to pray over them. You've got to pray over them.
Well, I don't know what use they've got anyway. But
The main thing is our thoughts, because so many people kill with anger. And but if you're destroying the ticks because of your love for your pets, but just honor the life in the tick also. Just do a prayer over them. 2 seconds. May you reincarnate quickly. May this be painless for you. Something from your heart. No. We actually are destroying things all the time. Every breath kills. How many microbes? So there's no way, and when we eat, talk about nonviolence in eating, we're chewing up spinach. It's still growing, and we chew it up. Sprouts, you know? So it's a fact that to sustain our own lives, there's a level of destruction going on. But so all the more reason that we live with purity, and that we have a dedicated life to serve. To serve. To use the energy nature has provided us, to give it back in some form or another. Give it back in any form, in the form of good thoughts, prayers, and actual service. Bringing me water, See, it's empty again. It's okay, I don't need a knife.
Okay. I'll crawl and get it then.
It's time to end. I loved having this time with you. Thank you for going through all the exercises. I hope and pray that there's some usefulness in it. Use them again. Use them again. It's just ways of accessing the wisdom which is essential to you. And they will be a reliable guide to help you make choices and find your own pathway. Yeah. This world is meant to be a joyous place. Human life is meant to be a joyous life. We can do it. We can do it. So onwards and upwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.